guys, welcome back to Fish Hex. Today's video is going to be the pH video that I promised I'd get out, shortly. Basically, it's kind of adding on to the video about how to solve pH problems. So I'm just going to start over, and then I'm going to give you all the information I know about pH and how I maintain a proper pH level consistently. So let's get into it. So what is pH? I'm not going to get too complex. I'm just going to read you a definition so you know. pH is the power of hydrogen. It is simply a measurement of the acidity or alkalinity of a solution. A pH of 7 is considered to be neutral, neither acid or alkaline, while pH above 7 is alkaline or base, and below 7 is acidic. All right. So, what effects does pH have on a reef tank? Well, pH affects everything. It affects the balance of life in the reef tank. It has to be in a certain range, or things are just not going to do well. Your clams won't grow right. Your coral obviously won't grow right. Fish could become ill. There's a laundry list of things that can go wrong if your pH isn't in a desired range. So, what is that desired range? Well, most people say 7.6 to 8.4 is that broad range. Okay, now there is that big range, but there is a range that is recommended for optimal coral growth, and I believe that's between 8.0 and 8.35. That's what I consider to be optimal, and to even narrow down further, I keep mine between 8.27 and 8.35. That's the range I keep mine in, and I try to keep it there as much as possible. All right, so what things in a reef tank are happening on a daily basis that can bring pH down? Well, carbon dioxide, excess carbon dioxide. That can be from people being in your house. It can be from not having enough airflow through the house in general. It could be from not having enough surface agitation. There's several things that could cause excess carbon dioxide. So what happens when you have excess carbon dioxide? It makes the water more acidic, which then brings the pH down. Okay. So lack of sufficient gas exchange. That's the surface of the water not being broken enough to allow the gas exchange, okay? And also organic acids from metabolic waste, fish poop, all that kind of stuff, bacteria waste, all that stuff brings pH down. All right, so let's move into it. How do you even maintain a pH, okay? So, or better yet, what pH level should you maintain? So let's just shoot for 8.3, okay? 8.3 has shown great effects on the reef tank. It shows that it's been known to increase coral growth. Calcium carbonate structures have been get laid down quicker from coral. They can build their skeletal structures quicker, known to be quicker based on that pH range around 8.3. So we're just going to shoot for 8.3 because that's my goal in the end on a daily basis. All right. So how do you get pH of 8.3? Well, your pH is directly determined based on your alkalinity level and the amount of carbon dioxide in your tank. Those are the two main things that are going to affect your pH level. So if you have a constant alkalinity level, your pH should be based off of that level that's coming in. So say you have an alkalinity, let's just take my tank for example. I like to keep my alkalinity at around 9 to 9.5. This allows me to have a pH of about an 8.3 to a little bit higher, 8.35, something like that around there, depending on the amount of carbon dioxide that's currently in the tank. So ideally, if there's no carbon dioxide, I should have a pH of 8.3, roughly. That's where it should be at. That is a struggle on a daily basis, regardless of how efficient you are at doing these things I'm about to tell you to do. It's still a struggle, right? Like right now my pH is sitting at 8.2. For no apparent reason, apparently. There's too many people breathing in my house. I guess that's what's going on. But, alright, so let's move into it. How do you keep a consistent alkalinity level? Well, dosing 2-part in your tank, that's calcium and alkalinity, having it dosed equally, and I can't stress this enough, equally in your tank on a daily basis will allow you to have a stable pH level. Alright, so dosing 2-part daily in equal amounts to give you the desired alkalinity level that you want, okay? And then test that alkalinity with an accurate test kit, or something like a Hannah checker or a Red Sea kit that's accurate on a weekly basis until you get a hang of things to make sure that you have a stable alkalinity level, okay? So the next part you want to do is you want to remove CO2 from the tank. That's a great, doing that will increase your pH overall, okay? just for a second. I'm not telling you to go directly for 8.3, okay? The biggest mistake I made in reefing was running and jumping and chasing numbers, okay? Don't do it. If your tank is, aerated, you're doing everything you can do to make sure there's no CO2 in the tank and your pH is staying at 8.2, leave it alone. Don't add buffers, don't add crap into it to bring your pH up to 8.3, because you're just going to add a shitstorm to the tank and it's going to fall apart. So leave it alone, okay? So with that being said, alright, let's move into ways to remove CO2 from your tank. Alright, so first and foremost, most people just attach their skimmer outside. I run mine down the wall, through the wall, and outside. I have a little carbon filter on the end of it just so I don't suck bugs and all sorts of stuff in through it. And I just pull air from outside directly into the skimmer. That's one way to do it. If it's nice outside, open the window. Allow air to get inside of the house and let the house breathe. That's a great way to do it. Another way that I personally do is I have fans on the back of my canopy that are always running. It's always, one's pushing air in and one's pulling air out, so it's just a giant circle effect. Basically, it's just air coming in and out of the back of the canopy, which is always good. The more air you can get into it, it kind of stabilizes the temperature, plus it cools the LED lights, and it provides oxygen into the tank. Another thing you can do is do the same thing to your stand. Add fans or leave the stand doors open, whatever you choose. It just allows air to get in there. Alright. Point your power heads or your return lines towards the surface of the tank. As you can see here, I have two return lines point to the surface, but then I have the power heads are adding waves, so that kind of adds to it as well. Mix up the water. Allow there to be, allow it to mix up together. And splash around, all that kind of stuff. That's going to help remove CO2 from the tank. It doesn't have to be drastic. I'm not saying, splash water out of your tank. I'm just saying, look at the waves that you see here. This is perfect. You can have higher waves if you want, but it works just fine for me. All right. One thing I'm going to show you guys here in a second. I'm going to bring you down to the sump. I'm going to show you. I use a wooden air stone with a air pump outside of the tank, outside of the tank stand, which then pumps in tons and tons of fresh air into this wooden air stone. But the macroalgae pretty much catches all the bubbles, plus I got 2, 3 bubble traps that are going to catch all the bubbles, so it's never actually going to get to the return line. That adds a lot of oxygen to the tank. Another thing you can do is grow macroalgae. I don't recommend growing it 24 hours a day because macroalgae needs time to relax, so I suggest running it on the night cycle. But basically when your tank's main lights are off, run a refugium macroalgae. Chaeto grows really fast. Just do that. That's a good way to remove CO2 from the system because plants use CO2 to grow. Alright, and another thing you could do, which I never tried, is you can add a canister with CO2 remover directly to the skimmer. I've heard this is pretty expensive. I did a quote on my tank a while ago and it was like $40 every 2 months, which is, I don't want to spend $40 every 2 months, so I would suggest try everything I said previously. And if you really want to, go ahead and spend the money on it. It's just an air filter that connects directly to the skimmer input. And the media dissolves, or it doesn't dissolve over time. Color changes over time, which will tell you when it's depleted. That's your call. You do what you want on that one. So let's go ahead and move down to the sump. I'll show you guys my intake line, and then I'll also show you the air stone. All right. All right, guys. So this is the intake line, the skimmer. Basically, I have a hard piping hose that goes out, obviously behind the tank, runs down. Underneath the carpet and outside. I use the hard so if anybody steps on it, it doesn't collapse or put pressure on it. And then, like I said, I have a carbon filter at the end outside, which prevents any bugs, any stuff get in there. So that's the skimmer there. Let me show you the air stone. Alright, so we're looking at the air stone here. As you can see, I have a ton of air coming in here. I actually have a 4-port air pump, basically plumbed them down to one pipe through various connections, through airline connections. And I have all that power cranked up coming through here. Now you can see the bubbles, kind of go all the way through, but they break up before they end up over to, into the return section. So they have plenty of time to go through. The macroalgae, once it's growing in here, I just pulled up about 5 gallons of it out the other day. But that would catch most of the air bubbles. But other than that, it's great. I definitely seen a big difference in adding this air stone. But make sure, just common sense, make sure it's not going to shoot micro bubbles into your main display. That stuff is just irritating in general. So yeah, air stone's a good thing. I don't know too many people are doing it, but I've seen a big difference. I mean, when I added that new pump alone, the new air pump, the bigger one, the pH, you can just literally see it going up, within a matter of hours. It was great. So definitely recommend that. Give it a shot. If you don't like it, then you can. It's an air stone. It's like what, $3, so you're not really losing anything. Other than that, guys, I appreciate you watching the video. I hope it made some sense. I hope it could clarify a couple things. If you have any questions at all, let me know. Like I said before, don't chase numbers. If your pH if you're doing all these things, your pH stays at 8.2, leave it alone, okay? There's no reason to add buffers, and don't ever add an alkalinity buffer to your tank. That's just bad news all the way around. Leave it alone. Alright, guys, so if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe. If you have any suggestions, or if you do something different, definitely put it in the comments below. I definitely want to understand and learn, and that's the whole point of this, is learning how people do things. So again, guys, appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Later.